Long after the flood, when the earth had begun to heal and families spread across the land, humanity shared one language and one voice. Every word meant the same thing to every ear. Communication was effortless, and people felt powerful in their unity. As they traveled eastward, they found a wide plain in the land of Shinar and decided to settle there, believing this place could become the center of their greatness. They spoke to one another with bold confidence, urging themselves to make bricks and bake them thoroughly. Stone was replaced with brick, and tar became their mortar. With these inventions, they felt unstoppable. What began as cooperation soon turned into ambition. They said to one another that they would build a city and a tower that reached the heavens, a monument so tall it would announce their greatness to the world. They wanted to make a name for themselves, to prove that they needed no higher authority, and to ensure they would never be scattered across the earth. The tower began to rise, layer by layer, fueled by pride and human determination. From the ground, it looked like a symbol of progress and strength. But from heaven, it revealed something far deeper. The Lord came down to see the city and the tower the people were building. He saw not just bricks and mortar, but hearts filled with self-glory and defiance. Humanity was united, but their unity was no longer guided by humility or obedience. If nothing stopped them, their pride would continue to grow, pushing them further away from their Creator. The Lord declared that because the people were one and shared the same language, nothing they planned would be impossible for them. So He chose to interrupt their rebellion in a way that would humble them rather than destroy them. He confused their language so that they could no longer understand one another's speech. Words that once connected now caused frustration. Instructions turned into arguments. Cooperation collapsed into chaos. As confusion spread, the work stopped. Builders could no longer coordinate, and neighbors could no longer agree. The tower stood unfinished, a silent witness to human pride cut short. The people began to scatter across the earth, just as God had intended from the beginning. Different languages formed different nations, cultures, and identities, all born from that moment of divine intervention. The city was called Babel because there the Lord confused the language of the whole world. From that place, humanity was dispersed across the face of the earth. The Tower of Babel became more than a story of a failed building project. It became a warning etched into history. It reminds us that unity without humility leads to confusion, and that when humanity tries to rise to heaven by its own strength, it often ends up more divided than before. The Tower of Babel didn't just collapse into silence. Its echo thundered through generations. What looked like humanity's greatest achievement became its greatest interruption. One moment they were shouting orders with confidence. The next, they were staring at each other in disbelief, hearing familiar voices speak words that suddenly made no sense. Confusion spread faster than the tower ever rose, and panic replaced pride. Imagine the shock of that moment. Friends who had worked side by side could no longer understand one another. Families argued over simple instructions. Leaders lost control with a single sentence spoken the wrong way. The same mouths that once praised human greatness now cried out in frustration. The dream of touching the heavens shattered not because the bricks were weak, but because human pride had crossed a divine boundary. The unfinished tower stood like a scar on the earth, tall enough to be seen, broken enough to be remembered. Every abandoned brick whispered a hard truth. Unity driven by ego always collapses. The people had tried to secure their future by their own power, yet they lost the very thing they depended on most, the ability to understand each other. As they scattered across the earth, languages multiplied, cultures were born, and nations emerged. What began as judgment also became the foundation of the diverse world we know today. God turned rebellion into redirection. Humanity was no longer gathered around one tower of pride, but spread across the earth to fulfill His original purpose. The story of Babel exposes a timeless struggle. Humans crave greatness, recognition, and control. We still build towers today, not always with bricks, but with fame, power, wealth, and influence. We still chase the idea of making a name for ourselves, believing success will bring security. Yet Babel warns that when God is removed from the center, even the most impressive achievements can end in confusion. Babel teaches that progress without humility leads to division. It shows that unity without obedience becomes dangerous. And it reminds us that no matter how high humanity climbs, heaven is never reached by pride. The true lesson of the Tower of Babel is not about language alone, but about the heart. When people lift themselves above God, everything eventually falls apart. The story of the Tower of Babel shows how humanity's unity turned into pride and rebellion against God. Speaking one language, the people came together to build a tower reaching the heavens, so they could make a name for themselves and avoid being scattered. Their ambition was driven by self-glory rather than obedience. God intervened by confusing their language, causing communication to break down and the project to collapse. The people were then scattered across the earth, giving rise to different languages and nations. Babel stands as a powerful reminder that unity without humility leads to division, and that human pride cannot replace God's authority. The Tower of Babel concludes with a timeless warning written into human history. When people place their pride above God, even their greatest achievements become empty and incomplete. What was meant to reach the heavens ended unfinished, not because of lack of strength, but because of misplaced ambition. Babel reminds us that true unity is not built on ego or self-glory, but on humility and alignment with God's purpose. Every generation faces the same choice: to build for our own name or to live for His. And the story makes it clear. Only what is built with God at the center will truly stand. Please subscribe to my channel for more biblical stories like this.